You've been ordered to pay child support. That's been going on for a little while now, but you've stopped paying and fallen behind. What can happen to you as a result? Let's talk about that. Hi, I'm attorney Paul Whalen from Afford Law. At Afford Law, we practice criminal and family law throughout Massachusetts. Our fees are all based on your income, so that means the less you make, the less you have to pay. So, child support is a very important issue in any divorce involving children who are minors. Now, child support is a court order. It's coming from the court under the power of the court. So that means you have an obligation to make those payments. Sometimes people get behind on their payments, what's called arrears, and sometimes they stop paying altogether. That's obviously not a very good idea for many reasons. One of which is that your child is not receiving the financial support that he or she should. And secondly, it can get you into a great deal of trouble. So, what happens if you fall behind or you stop paying child support? Well, there are a number of things that the court can do in order to sort of put pressure on you to get you back on track to paying child support and catching up with the amount that's in arrears or that is the back child support. So, one of the things that they can do, the court can do, is they can impose penalties and fines. That's a problem because not only now do you still have that amount of child support that's due every week or every month, however you're paying it, but in addition to that, they can hit you with penalties and fines. So it's sort of like falling behind on paying your taxes. Not only do you have to pay the next taxes, but you have to now pay a fine or penalty and fees as a result of the original falling behind. So in you'll find yourself now in a position where if it was tough to make the original child support payments, now it's going to be a much greater burden because you have to add additional funds to that in order to pay the fines and the penalties. So that's one thing that the court can do. The other thing is they can suspend your driver's license. Suspending your driver's license would cause a great deal of burden to you, especially if you need your license to get around. Most people need to have their driver's license to get to and from work and just to run their normal lives here and there and so forth, and taking care of the kids when you have them. So without a valid driver's license, you run the risk of if you're pulled over, that's a criminal act. So you can be charged with a crime driving on a suspended license. And if you have a lot of suspended license cases, you now are in trouble because that could come with a jail term. That's in rare cases, but you'll end up having to pay fees and fines and penalties and so forth if you get caught driving on a suspended driver's license. So you could lose your license. Another thing that can happen is that the court can attach your bank accounts. So if you're behind on child support and it doesn't look like you're going to catch up anytime soon, the court will inquire as to what your assets are. If you have a bank account, the court can levy that bank account. That means attach it, and they can actually take the money that's in your bank account and apply that toward the outstanding child support that's due. Clearly, that's going to be a burden to you because you won't have that money. That money will be given away. So if you're saving up for something or if you need that money to live, all of a sudden the courts has now basically taken that from you to give to your ex for the child support that you've fallen behind on. So that's one thing that's another thing that the court can do, and that can land you in a lot of trouble. The court has many other options as well to sort of leverage you to try to bring you current on your child support and try to get you going forward. The most the most serious of all the court's options are to send you to jail. Uh, Courts don't want to send you to jail necessarily, but if it looks like you're not paying your child support and you're doing so willfully, and the court has tried perhaps some of these other options, and you still haven't gotten on board with the child support payments, the court can send you to jail. They can send you to jail temporarily, or they can impose a sentence. Most often, what happens is the court will hold you in contempt and send you to jail is in violation of that contempt. You can get out of jail if you can come up with the child support that's due. That's where the leverage comes in. So a lot of times people will say, well, gee, how can you send me to jail if you're looking for money? If I go to jail, I can't work. I can't come up with the money. It's counterproductive. To tell you the truth, in many cases that I've seen, once somebody goes to jail, they are highly motivated to come up with the money that's owed. So they reach out to family, to friends, they borrow whatever they can, anything they can do to get out of jail is something that they're going to try to do. So even though you're put in jail, it seems like you won't have an income. More often than not, if there's any way possible, you'll come up with the money that's owed to you, as I say, by tapping into family or friends or other resources that you might have. So again, the court doesn't want to send you to jail, but if it looks like you're willfully not obeying the court's order, they do have that ability and they have that power. So here's the typical scenario that happens. You're paying child support, things are going along okay, and then let's say you lose your job. Either you lose your job, they cut back on your hours, or something happens that decreases substantially your income. And then you're still on the hook for the child support because, as I say, it's a court order. Until that court order is modified, you are obligated to pay the child support. So what you should do is if you, let's say you lose your job as an example, you should immediately file a motion to modify the child support. So get that get that into the court as soon as possible, as soon as you run into any financial situations causing you distress, because you want to make sure that the court knows about it and the clock starts ticking. And what I mean by that is, let's say you lose your job you get laid off on a Friday. Monday morning, you file a motion to modify your child support with the court. It's not going to be heard on that day. There's not going to be a hearing on that day. You'll file the motion. The court will give you a hearing date further down the road. Depending on the court schedule, it could be many weeks down the road. But what happens is by the time you get to the hearing, if you get in before the judge and you just explain through no fault of your own, your company laid you off or the company closed their doors or whatever it was, but somehow you lost your job and you are without income. Now, if the judge is sympathetic and you can prove your case, the judge can now modify the child support to drastically reduce it, perhaps even suspend it for a period of time. And what can happen is the judge can act retroactively. So that means the judge can make the order to go back in time to the time when the child support modification motion was filed. So in our example, on that Monday morning, whatever that is. So even if it's 2 months down the road when you're having the hearing, you can say to the judge, Judge, not only do I want to have this modified going forward, but could you please look at it retroactively? I took the proper steps. As soon as I lost my job, I came in here to explain to you why I can't make my child support payments. And the judge may very well issue a retroactive order back to the day that the court received the motion to modify the child support. So if you run into trouble, the worst thing to do is to do nothing. So what you want to do is you want to act proactively, get before the court, let them know that you're having a problem. When you get a chance to explain it, at least you've put that paperwork in motion, and the judge can help you out if he or she is inclined to do so. So that's basically the consequences of not paying child support or falling behind on the child support. Obviously, you don't want to do that. You don't want to run into any trouble. And of course, you don't want your children to be without your financial support as well. If you have any questions about child support, family law issues, or criminal matters, please feel free to visit us at affordlaw.org and feel free to book a free virtual appointment with me. I would be happy to answer any questions you might have about any family law or criminal law matters in Massachusetts. Because at Afford Law, we're making justice affordable. Thank you.